In just 9 minutes, get the most powerful insights from a 4-hour deep dive with Travis Haley on the Shawn Ryan Show, aired on February 18th, 2025. From intense combat stories to life-changing lessons on mindset, resilience, and leadership, this summary packs it all. Stay till the end. You won't want to miss this. Here are the key takeaways from the podcast. Takeaway 1. The reality of war and loss. War is not just about strategy, weapons, and winning battles. It is about the people involved, their sacrifices, and the lasting impact it has on them. Travis Haley shares the heartbreaking reality of losing 36 close friends, not just acquaintances, to suicide and war-related trauma. He points out that while war may end on the battlefield, for many soldiers, the real battle continues long after they return home. Losing friends to suicide becomes a haunting experience. The calls in the middle of the night or the sudden messages saying, "Hey man, did you hear what happened?" never get easier. For Travis, it was overwhelming to the point where he tried to stop counting the losses, but even when he stopped keeping track of the numbers, the pain remained. For example, he recalls talking to a friend who had a .44 Magnum in his mouth but couldn't pull the trigger. Instead of responding with the usual, "That's terrible," Travis asked, "Was it wrong that you did that?" His friend hesitated and eventually admitted that it wasn't, because it meant he was still alive and still had a chance to change his path. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 2, pain is mandatory, suffering is optional. Travis believes that pain is a part of life that no one can escape. However, suffering is something that people create for themselves when they don't process pain correctly. Instead of avoiding or suppressing it, people should embrace pain and use it as a tool for growth. When something terrible happens, people often think, "Why me?" But Travis suggests a small shift in perspective. Ask instead, "What can I learn from this?" By reframing painful experiences as learning opportunities, people can prevent themselves from being stuck in a cycle of suffering. For example, after experiencing traumatic events in war, many veterans find themselves reliving those moments repeatedly, drowning in guilt and regret. However, Travis explains that instead of letting those memories control them, they can choose to focus on what those experiences taught them, whether it's resilience, leadership, or understanding the true value of life. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 3, the warrior's true strength is compassion. Many people assume that warriors are defined by their ability to fight, but Travis argues that the best fighters are those who have deep compassion. The stronger a soldier's love for what they are protecting, whether it's their country, their family, or their teammates, the harder they will fight for it. For example, if someone breaks into his house, Travis wouldn't defend his family because of some legal principle about justifiable force. He would do it simply because he loves his family more than anything else. That love is what gives true strength. This concept applies beyond combat. Whether in business, relationships, or personal growth, people who act from a place of care and purpose tend to be more determined, more effective, and ultimately more fulfilled. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 4, the Battle of Najaf and the chaos of war. One of the defining moments of Travis's career was the Battle of Najaf, where he experienced the full intensity of urban warfare. Unlike what people see in movies, war is not a clear-cut battle between good and evil. It is often filled with uncertainty, split-second decisions, and unintended consequences. During the battle, Travis had to make critical choices with no time for hesitation. He explains that in combat, you don't always have the luxury of knowing whether a decision is right or wrong. You just have to act and live with the results. For example, during the intense battle, Travis found himself making split-second choices with life or death consequences. Later, he reflected on how war isn't always black and white. Sometimes, even good decisions come with painful outcomes. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 5, the power of vulnerability. Many in the military world see vulnerability as a weakness, but Travis sees it as the ultimate strength. Admitting fears and struggles is what allows true healing and connection. For example, when talking about his past traumas, he doesn't pretend to have all the answers. Instead, he openly shares his struggles, helping others see that healing starts with honesty. Let's hear from you. What do you think? Does vulnerability make a person stronger or weaker? Comment below. We're halfway through the video. Thank you for sticking with us this far. If you're enjoying it, please give us a thumbs up and share it in your WhatsApp groups. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to comment below. To see more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Now let's continue with the video. Takeaway 6. The importance of mindset in combat and life. Travis stresses that success in battle, as well as in everyday life, depends largely on the story you tell yourself. Negative thinking creates a downward spiral, while a strong, positive mindset can change everything. For example, in a life-or-death situation in Iraq, one soldier started panicking and saying, "We're not going to make it." That fear spread like wildfire. Instead of shutting him down, Travis shifted the narrative, reminding everyone why they were there and refocusing their mindset on survival. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 7. Innovation in the battlefield. Travis was instrumental in developing training programs and tactical innovations for Blackwater. His ability to analyze combat situations and improve gear and training made missions more effective. For example, while serving on a high-threat security detail, he helped create instructional videos for incoming operatives. These videos allowed new recruits to quickly adapt to mission protocols, significantly reducing errors in the field. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 8. Kids in war zones teach true resilience. One of the most powerful moments in the podcast is when Travis describes children playing with nothing but a makeshift wheel and a stick in a war-torn village. For example, these kids had just witnessed devastation, yet they laughed and ran up and down the street, pushing a simple wire loop with a stick. That moment made Travis question how much people in privileged countries take for granted. It also made him wonder, if disaster struck at home, would our children have the same resilience? Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 9. War is not just about guns. It's about stories. Many assume that being in combat is all about firefights, but Travis explains that the most valuable lessons often come from unexpected moments. For example, while stationed in Liberia, he met local kids who could recite parts of the U.S. Constitution better than most Americans. It was a reminder that war isn't just about fighting. It's about understanding people, history, and what's truly at stake. Now let's move to the last takeaway. Takeaway 10. Accepting the past, moving forward. Travis shares a deeply personal realization. You cannot change the past, but you can change how you let it shape you. For example, after a particularly difficult mission, he was haunted by the memory of a child he unintentionally harmed in crossfire. Years later, a monk told him, "That child is happy now because he sees what you've done for others." That moment shifted his perspective. He couldn't undo the past, but he could honor it by making a difference in the present. Here is a brief introduction about Travis Haley. Travis Haley is a legend in the armed forces community. As a veteran of the United States Marine Corps Force Reconnaissance, he's built an illustrious career in both military service and the private sector. After combat tours in the Middle East, Africa, and Central Asia, Haley transitioned to private military contracting with Blackwater USA, where he participated in high-profile operations, including the 2004 Battle of Najaf. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this summary of the Shawn Ryan Show podcast with Travis Haley informative. I encourage you to watch the full podcast on YouTube by clicking on the link in the description below. If you enjoyed watching this video, please leave a like below and share this video in your WhatsApp groups. You can also discuss about this video by commenting below. To get more such videos in your timeline, press the subscribe button below.